the creative impulses that indwell in me and seek to express in, through, and as me as we read. Yes, that's right. Journey of the Souls. All right. So I'm back. I just like to say I love reading aloud. That was my favorite part of kindergarten, first grade, and second grade, is being read to. And the teachers back then, not to say they don't do it now, actually embodied the story so the children could have an active imagination. And they showed the pictures as well, you know? But we as adults, when things are being read to us, you can either make a judgment of it, and then you never grow and expand because you have a judgment of it based on something in your past. And you can't move forward past that. You can't move forward past things that are no longer serving you. Things that you've been told in your childhood that doesn't really resonate with you anymore, but you can't move past it because you're a Baptist or a Methodist, or you're Jewish, and it's only about the first few chapters of the Bible, the Old Testament. We got to stick to the old ways, even in your new day, your now moment. And that's with a lot of people. When things are being read to you, or workshops are being presented to you, have an open mind about them. Push the judgment aside and be open to it, because that's how learning and growth take hold. That's how evolution moves. So what resonates in reading this book, Journey of the Souls, by Michael Newton? He's a PhD, and he started doing past life regressions, and he took you into a past life based on your soul's information, the consciousness of each physical form that it took. But he found out that he could go into the superconscious, where souls come from. The divineness. You could call it heaven. I call it the realm of absolute. You could call it heaven. You could call it whatever you want to call it. But he found out that he could speak to the higher beingness, the source of all things that is talking to us all the time, and answering our questions based on the fact that we're asking a question. Even though we're asking a superficial question to just make us feel good. Oh, why did this all start? What's the purpose? And the divine said, the divine didn't go superficial. The divine said, okay, I'm going to answer the question. I'm going to send people who can open up, people who can channel me so I can tell you. But it's up to you to take what resonates and leave what doesn't. If it ain't resonating with you, then step out the room. Right? Don't spend any time passing judgment on it, because what happens is what you put out comes back to you. So if you're passing judgment on me and this reading, or the Michael Newton and his book, that judgment, that energy that you're passing is not going anywhere but back to you. That's why I say take what resonates and leave what doesn't. Hi, Holly. Hi, Casey. I love you. Okay, so we're going to get started. We are on chapter 4. Okay? This one he calls the displaced soul. Michael begins, there are souls who have been so severely damaged they are detached from the mainstream of souls going back to a spiritual home base. I take what resonates. I believe that the divineness of all that is and all that is not damaged. It may be confused at first because now it's transitioning, and it may be transitioning sooner than it thought, sooner than the story was supposed to play out. But see, that's what I do. I take what resonates and I leave what doesn't, or I allow the divine to give me different words that resonate with me. So I vibe with this. I believe that souls can be confused. Compared to all returning entities, the number of these abnormal souls is not large. See, now abnormal, this is our word. I'm quite sure the divine translating to Michael, it used a different vibration, but that's the best word that the divine could find that met that vibration. However, what has happened to them on Earth is significant because of the serious effect they've had on other incarnations, other incarnated souls. There are two types of displaced souls, at least two types that he knows of. There might be more. And I like the way he says that. Displaced. They have to come back to the oneness, the wholeness. They have to merge. There's a process. Those who do not accept the fact their physical body is dead and fighting returning to the spirit world for reasons of personal anguish, and the souls who have been subverted by or had complicity with criminal abnormalities in a body. Remember, our higher beings, our souls, came with choice, free will choice, as well as our physical bodies. They came with the choice of what do you call it? The positive polarity and the negative polarity. And some souls chose the negative polarity. They stayed in it a little bit longer than expected because they didn't choose to, the body that they were in didn't choose to grow and expand. Everything is a choice. Everything is free will, even with our higher beings. Okay? Michael says, in the first instance, displaced. Okay, so in the first, hold on a second. It's a long thing, but he says in his first case, and I guess that's case 10. He says, in the first instance, displacement is of the soul's own choosing, while in the second case, spiritual guides deliberately remove these souls from further association with other entities for an indeterminate period. In both situations, the guides of these souls are intimately concerned with rehabilitation, but because the circumstances are quite different between each type of displaced soul, I will treat them separately. Okay? Welcome, Dr. Sheridan, the holistic doctor. Ooh, I love that. The holistic doc. All right. So the first type of soul we call ghost. That's what we call them. Okay? These ghosts or spirits refuse to come home after physical death and often have unpleasant influences on those of us who would like to finish out our human lives in peace. These displaced souls are sometimes falsely called demonic spirits. But you know what? Even though he says falsely, you have a story that you're sticking to, and if you believe in demonic, then that soul that is determined not to go home, that it will be demonic for you. It'll say, "Ooh, I can be that. I don't have a physical body, but I can still express in this third density. So I'm going to express as one of their demons, one of their evil spirits. I can do that, right? It doesn't want to go home because it's not acclimating to the fact that the physical body was separated, right? Okay, remember, our ego is giving us straight line, and it's telling us, oh, if you're seeing having trouble with the spirit, it must be evil, right? It's from a story that you had a long time ago. And what did we say before? Consciousnesses, higher beings, are here to serve. They're energy from the realm of absolute or heaven, and they're here to express in 3D, in third density. All right. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Right? It's 8:29 a.m. in the morning, and we got people up and loud. They're expressing their story. I got my balcony door open, and my dog is going in and out, and checking the neighborhood out. And let me tell you, there is a reason why the divine, when I stepped into this place, said, "I think you're home. Do you feel it?" And I went, "Yeah, I feel it." And then 6 months later or whatnot, you have that one, like, why did I choose this place? But I'm here to hold space, so I'm going to hold space. Anyway, so, okay. The subject of negative spirits has produced serious investigations in the field of parapsychology. Unfortunately, this area of spirituality has also attracted a fringe element of the unscrupulous associated with the occult, who prey on the emotions of susceptible people. Okay? He goes on to say, the troubled spirit in an immature entity with unfinished business in a past life on earth. Okay? They may have no relations to the living person who is being disrupted by them. It is true that some people are convenient and receptive conduits for negative spirits who wish to express their querulous nature. This means that someone who is in a deep meditative state of consciousness might occasionally pick up annoying signal patterns from a discarnated being whose communication can range from the frivolous to the provocative. These unsettled entities are not spiritual guides. Real guides are healers and don't intrude with acrimonious message, right? So you have the in this consciousness, the divine consciousness, there is higher beings that are being exactly what you want them to be. And if you believe in evil spirits, then yeah, they're going to be that. And most of them they didn't want to transition. They left a physical body that they didn't want to leave that story at that time, and they're fighting to merge back with the divine. And fighting isn't the resisting, not fighting, not a battle. And of course, the divine says, oh, if you want to be part of the story, if you don't come back and merge and then go through the proper channel of reincarnating into a physical body, you could be part of the story, but you'll have to do it from from a vibrational standpoint of a higher being. And it chooses that based on whatever lesson it's trying to learn, whatever lesson it got stuck in. Could be of a higher polarity or a lower polarity. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Welcome, palm reading by Prophet. Right? So he goes on to say, now you can mix them up. You can say your spiritual guides. You got to watch how you do your spiritual guides. They can be very mischievous and everything. But spiritual guides, real spiritual guides, are healers. Which, wow, that answered my question. They're not mischievous. You don't have to worry about how you interact with them. They're there for your highest and greatest good. And they don't intrude on your free will. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. You can believe what you want to believe. And what you believe will be so. Why? Because you're a creator of that actual thought that became action, that became your belief, and then the belief took action again and became your truth. So if you don't want to steer from it, you have to express from where your truth is. And if you never ask if it's for your highest and greatest good, then the expression has to play out. All right? Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. More often than not, the uncommon haunted spirits are tied to a particular geographic location. Researchers who have specialized in the phenomenon of ghosts indicated those disturbed entities are caught in a no man's land between the lower astral plane of Earth and the spirit world. From my own research, this is Michael speaking, from my own research, I don't believe these souls are lost in space, nor are they demonic. They choose to remain within the earth plane after physical death for a time by their own volition due to a high level of discontent. In my opinion, they are damaged souls because how does he say this? Because they evidence confusion and despair and even hostility, such an extent they want their guides to stay away from them. When they part, sometimes they part at death that comes suddenly, and they haven't finished their expression as or incarnation as a human, and they're displaced because they don't get it. Why didn't they finish? You know, kind of like a little kid having a temper tantrum. They don't want to go back right now. They want to understand. You know, so Michael goes on to say, we do know a negative, displaced entity can be reached and handled by various means, such as an exorcism to get them to stop interfering with human beings. Possessing spirits can be persuaded to leave and eventually make a proper transition into the spirit, back into the spirit realm, to go home, to go back to the divine. But it's all a story. It's an expression. Everything is expressing. Even higher beings, what you call your souls, are expressing. Michael goes on to say, if we have a spirit world governed by order, with guides who care about us, how can maladaptive souls who exert negative energy upon incarnated beings be allowed to exist? Michael says one explanation of infinite possibilities. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. One explanation is that we still have free will even in death. And I was talking about that before he even said this, right? The divine was leading up to this. Haley, welcome. Bow down. Oh, interesting. Bow down _ peasants. All righty. High connected 222 the universe. Oh, I love that. All right. Okay. Let's keep going. Everybody has such beautiful, interesting screen names. All right. What? Okay. One explanation is that we still have free will even in death. Another is that since we endure so many upheavals in our physical universe, then spiritual irregularities and deviations from the normal exodus of souls ought to be anticipated as well. Also, what we call ghosts only represents a divided portion of a disturbed soul's energy, while the rest has returned to the spirit world for reunification, for merging. Okay? Discarnate, unhappy spirits who trap themselves, did you get that? They trap themselves. It's free will. Are possibly part of a grand design. When they are ready, these souls will be taken by the hand away from Earth's astral plane and guided to their proper place in the spirit world. They will merge back with the divine. Why? Because they are the divine. The divine is seeking expression in every modality, every field of every dimension. Not just the physical plane, but the non-physical planes as well. Right? Michael goes on to say, I turn now to the far more prevalent second type of disturbed soul. These are souls who have been involved in evil acts. Remember, our higher beings came to choose the positive polarity or a negative polarity. They had free will as well. They had a story coming into these physical forms. They had the opportunity to seek and feel and be and become. And they got to choose. And some higher beings chose the lower polarities. And they got stuck. Not stuck, but stuck like they were performing things that weren't for the highest and greatest good of others. They were there to serve themselves in physical form. An aspect of the divine that the divine said, okay, let that be so. It's just an expression. It's just an experience. Right? And Michael goes on to say, we should first speculate of if a soul can be considered culpable or guilt-free when it occupies the offending criminal brain. But you're assuming that the form is leading the higher being. When the higher being came to seek lower polarity and took a shine to it. It's a collaboration, body, mind, and soul. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Michael says, is the soul mind or human ego responsible, or are they the same? Right? Collaboration. Are they the same? It's the divine seeking itself in form, whether through higher polarity or lower polarity. It's an experience. So Michael goes on to say, occasionally a client will say to me, I feel possessed by an inner force which tells me to do bad things. Michael then says, there are mentally ill people who feel driven by opposing forces of good and evil over which they believe they have no control. They always have free will. They just don't know that they can opt out. Michael says, after working for years with the superconscious minds of people under hypnosis, I have come to the conclusion that the 5th-century human can negatively act upon a soul's psyche. We express our eternal self through dominant biological needs and the pressures of environment stimuli, which are temporary to the incarnated soul. Although there is no hidden, sinister self within our human form, some souls are not fully assimilated. People not in harmony with their bodies feel detached from themselves in life. He's giving you an infinite possibility. Take what resonates and leave what doesn't. This is through his research. And it's an infinite possibility that some souls are regulated this way. It's not about the human body dominating the soul. You have to go and sit at the seat of your soul and ask, what do you seek from this experience using me? Especially if you're in situations that are not for your highest, greatest good and not for the greatest and highest good of others. You find yourself being abusive to yourself and to others. See, the simple thing we can do is we could say, the devil made me do it. And if you believe that, and it becomes your aspect of truth, then the higher that beingness, that expressing as your soul will be your devil. Right? Or not right. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Okay. Michael goes on to say, this condition does not excuse souls for doing their utmost to prevent evil involvement on earth. But they didn't come to prevent evil. They came to experience the higher polarity and the lower polarity. They came to make a choice. And if they chose the lower polarity, body, mind, and soul flow that way. Right? Michael says, we see this in human conscious. It is important we distinguish between what is exerting a negative force on our mind and what is not. Hearing an inner voice which may suggest self-destruction to ourselves or someone else is not a demonic spiritual entity or an alien presence or a malevolent renegade guide. Negative forces emanate from yourself. You have a higher being you have a higher being that may be still veiled, and you have an ego that's trying to protect you in some way from something. And you vibrated that way to listen to that voice. And then the outside world tells you when you hear voices inside you, so you're crazy. You're not supposed to be hearing voices. You're supposed to hear voices from other people telling you what they believe is for your highest and greatest good, but it might not be. And your ego is trying to protect you from that. It's telling you to resist. And sometimes the resisting comes in doing harm to yourself or harm to others. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Okay, so so Michael says, the destructive impulses of emotional disorders that are opened up by your ego, which is part of your mind center. It's a vibrational center that connects you to your outside world and gives you a commentary on what's going on in the outside world. And then it goes back into your past, finding something that is related to that or resembles that, and then it brings that information back to you. And says, okay, try this. But what you tried before and now are trying now doesn't work, and that makes you more stressed and gives you more emotional disorder, right? So the destructive impulses of emotional disorders, if left untreated, inhibit the soul's development. The soul, if it's unveiled, is vibration of energy that's here to say, your wish is my command. It will supersede. It won't have a chance to go into your DNA that it left information for itself, highlighted notes of what it wanted to achieve in this life. It starts experiencing what you're experiencing. Okay? Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Those of us who have experienced unresolved personal traumas in our lives carry the seed of our own destruction. The anguish affects our soul in such a way that it seems we're not whole, because for so long we've been taught that the divine or God or Almighty God is outside of us. We've been told that we were born sinful. We were told that we have to work all our lives to atone, and then when we die, we'll know if we go to heaven or hell. Take what resonates. I mean, I grew up in a Baptist background. That's what we studied. That's what we were taught. And when we went out to save souls or save human beings and talk to them about the divine or the Almighty God, that's what we told them. Don't you know you're a sinner? Don't you know that drinking and laughing and having fun is a sin? And you have to atone, otherwise you're going to go to hell? Now, somebody else might not have remembered it that way or recalled it that way, but that's the way it sounded to me. Take what resonates and leave what doesn't. And at me, as a kid, went, the God that loves me, I don't believe the God that loves me would have me telling other people that they're evil and because they like to dance and sing and laugh and watch different movies or have different relationships before they find the relationship that's best for them, that they're sinners. It didn't work for me. It might have worked for you. And I say, let it be so. It's okay for you. If that's for your highest and greatest good and you serving others, then let it be so. It's an expression of the divine expressing as you. So, Michael goes on to say, it is important we distinguish between what is exerting a negative force on our mind and what is not. Hearing an inner voice which may suggest self-destruction to ourselves or someone else is not a demonic spiritual entity or an alien presence, or a malevolent renegade guide. Negative forces emanate from ourself. The destructive impulse of emotional disorders, if left untreated, inhibit soul development. Though those of us who have experienced unresolved personal trauma in our lives carry the seeds of our own destruction. This is from his perspective. This is one infinite possibility in understanding ourselves more. This is not the end all be all. If it doesn't resonate for you, take what resonates and leave the rest. Michael goes on to say, this anguish affects our soul in such a way that it seems we are not whole. For instance, excessive cravings and addictive behavior, which is the outgrowth of our personal pain, exhibits the expression of a healthy soul, inhibits the expression of a healthy soul, and may even hold souls in bondage to this host body. From what I believe, a soul is never in bondage. It may be veiled and not able to assist as it came to express in your body, but it does know that you have free will. But if that's what bondage is called, if that's what the divine is called, the word that the divine found in Michael to resonate the necessity of expression in this book, then let it be so for him and whoever resonates with that. All right. Michael goes on to say, does the extent of contemporary violence mean that we have more souls going wrong today than in the past? If nothing else, our overpopulation and mind-altering drug culture should support this conclusion. On the positive side, Earth's international level of consciousness towards human suffering appears to be rising. All right? So for me, reading this, it gives me insight to another possibility. And then I can take that and discern what vibrates for my highest and greatest good. Me, I still believe that our higher beings came with choice to be in the positive polarity equaling service to others, knowing that service to ourselves has already been acclimated, assimilated, and anchored into the experience of me. So I know that all my needs, all my wants, all my desires, everything has already been assimilated, acclimated, and anchored for me. Therefore, I can serve it. I can do service to others with knowing that I'm taken care of, and I'm willing to serve others. I'm willing to integrate higher polarities and lower polarities and create a life that is part of my expression, and allowing those who are expressing with me to be of that higher and lower polarity and not judge them. That works for me. But I'll tell you, once upon a time, I would judge people too. Why? Because we were taught. In order to not look at all the shit that's going wrong with us, look at other people's shit and judge their shit. And then we don't have to deal with ourselves. And when somebody turns around and says, well, what about you? You divert back to, no, let's talk about you. Let's finish talking about you. Right? You died once and went through the life review. Yeah. Okay. How did that life review go? Did the divine say, ooh, that was an experience. Thank you very much. Because I believe that the divine doesn't judge you. The divine says, ooh, that was an experience. I get it. The divine is seeking itself in the expression of the experience, not in the judgment of it. That's what I believe. Find if you're judgeful, you'll judge yourself harshly. Remember, you're here to learn. Exactly. We're not here to judge ourselves. Why? Because the divine doesn't need to judge itself, and we are the divine in human form. We're here to discern. The divine wants us to discern. Why? We discern, and then we start to experience more. We grow, and we evolve in the story, and the divine gets to see, feel, and be more of itself in form. But guess what? If you want to judge yourself, the divine says, let it be so. Go ahead and judge yourself all you want. If you want to be separate from the wholeness that does not judge itself, go ahead and do that. Why? Because it's free will, and you get to choose. So if you want to judge yourself, and if you want to judge yourself like other people are judging you, and not feel like you're worthy, that's a choice. It's a free will choice. But it is an experience for the divine. Okay. So let's keep reading. Okay. Where are we? Okay, so on the positive side, Earth's international level of consciousness towards human suffering appears to be rising. And then he goes on to say, I've been told that in every era of Earth's bloody history, there has always been a significant number of souls unable to resist and successfully counter human cruelty. I believe that our souls weren't meant to counteract. It wasn't meant to change our free will. It was meant to collaborate and learn both higher and lower polarities, so that in the collaboration we grow and expand. And that means that if at one point we were in lower polarity and we grew to a higher polarity from always seeing and speaking and being involved in the cruelty of war, the more you speak about war, I truly believe Mother Mary said, if you invite me to an anti-war rally, I won't be there, because that's the vibration of war. But if you invite me to a peace rally, I will embody the peace. If you speak of war, that vibration gives you more war. If you speak of peace, Mother Teresa said, I think I called her Mother Mary, but Mother Teresa said that I become the vibration of peace, so that the divine sees what I expect peace to look like. And then the divine says, let there be peace. Right? So Michael goes on to say, certain souls whose hosts have a genetic disposition to abnormal brain chemistry are particularly at risk in a violent environment. Your soul, take what resonates. At risk means that it will learn the lower polarities, which it came to do. It came to experience both polarities of both the higher and the lower polarities. It's not just all about your foreign body, though your foreign body can, we were always told that we were only body and mind. So yeah, the body and the mind can be, some powerful, they don't even know that they're powerful energy. That energy courses through the body and courses through the mind, through all the cells, pulsating energy to create. It may be creating unconsciously, but it's creating the story. It's creating the expression. And your higher being is learning, because that's what it came here to do. It came here to be an expression of the divine, seeking itself out in form. Hence, Earth School. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. It's not that your soul is broken. It's learning. It's discerning. Okay. Since souls are not created perfect, their nature can be contaminated during the development of such a life form. I take what resonates and I leave what doesn't. The higher beings are the perfection of the divine. But they've come to learn. As soon as they lower themselves into a third dimensional body, they go through an amnesia of not knowing that they come from the divine. And while they're having their an amnesia veil, the egoic process that the divine gave you comes online and says, oh, I'm here to give a commentary on what the outside world looks like. And then I'm going to search through the past history of this person and give it the best resources that this human body or human expression can use. It's not that your soul is imperfect. Your higher being came to learn. It came to learn the higher polarities and the lower polarities, and it came to make a choice. And as it grows and expands and begins to move up the densities, the higher densities back to the divine, to merge back with the divine after it separates from its physical form, to merge back with the divine, to take the information and merge it with the divine. It's not broken. It's just kind of like in stasis. But take what resonates. Because these were the words that he had when the divine was channeling through him to write. To take on clients and to learn this and to deep dive. He was given the opportunity to peer into the superconsciousness. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. So let's keep going. Michael says, if our transgressions, that's what he believes, this is the word that he says, are especially serious, we call them evil. Hold on. That was somebody's expression. Expression of, see me, hear me, listen to me. Let it be so. So Michael says, if our transgressions are especially serious, we call them evil. My subject says to me, no soul is inherently evil, although it may acquire this label in human life. He goes on to say, pathological evil in humans is characterized by feelings of personal impotence and weakness, which is stimulated by helpless victims. Although souls who are involved with truly evil acts should generally be considered at a low level of development, there are many souls that keep coming back that have been doing this for eons upon eons, and they're experiencing the higher and the lower levels. And some of them eventually choose the lower polarity. Why? Because it's their free will choice. Right? Soul immaturity does not automatically invite malevolent behavior from a damaged human personality. The evolution of souls involves a transition from imperfection to perfection based upon overcoming many difficult body assignments during their task-oriented life. This is one infinite possibility. I believe that souls come in as open vessels to learn. They are part of the divine. They are only veiled as they transition into a human body. And then the soul has free will to learn higher and lower polarity, just as the human body, the form, can decide to hear the whispers of the soul, to unveil it, or it doesn't have to listen to it at all because it has free will choice in their body and their mind. Souls may also have a predisposition for selecting environments where they consistently don't work well or are subversive. Thus, souls may have their identity damaged by poor life choices. Again, here he uses the word damage. My higher being says expression. They choose the lower polarity. They're choosing an expression. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. However, all souls are held accountable for their conduct in the bodies they occupy. But don't take that to mean my soul made me do it. You're a collaboration of your higher being, your body, and your mind. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Michael says, we will see in the next chapter how souls receive an initial review of their past life with guides before moving on into their to join their friends. But what happens to souls who have through their body caused extreme suffering to another? For that right there, I would stop myself and go, wait a second. You're saying that the divine judges itself? But I'm going to stay open to infinite possibilities. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Okay? He's prepping and priming you for the next case. But if you leave yourself open to infinite possibilities, open to wisdom and understanding of your higher being, your form being, and your conscious mind, as a collaborator to discernment, you might find some information that he didn't find when he presented this. Let me see how long I've been on. Okay, I've got 10 more minutes. Excuse me. But what happens to souls who have, through their bodies, caused extreme suffering to another? If a soul is not capable of ameliorating the most violent human urges in its host body, how is it held accountable for the afterlife? This brings up the issue of being sent to heaven or hell, or good or bad, because accountability has long been a part of our religious traditions, if you believe in that. Let's see where he's going. On the wall of my office hangs an Egyptian painting. It quotes the judgment scene as represented in the Book of the Dead. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. He's using this as his example, which is a mythological ritual of death over 7,000 years old. The ancient Egyptians had an obsession with death and the world beyond the grave, because in their cosmic pantheon, death explained life. The picture shows a newly deceased man arriving at a place located between the land of the living and the kingdom of the dead. He stands at a set of scales about to be judged for his past deeds on earth. Let's see, the earth is in big change right now. So many things are changing. Yes. Because evolution is promised. The divine said, we came into this experience in a physical form with a higher being so that we could shift and evolve. So change is always going to happen. You can either fear it or embrace it. You can either ask the embodying question, who am I going to be in this now moment of change? This man stands by a set of scales about to be judged for his past deeds on earth. The master of ceremonies is the god Anubis, who carefully weighs the man's heart on one pan of the scale against the ostrich feather of truth on the opposite side. The heart, not the head, represents the embodiment of a person's soul conscious to the Egyptians. It is a tense moment. A crocodile-headed monster is crouched nearby with his mouth open, ready to devour the heart of the man's wrongs outweighs the good he did in life. Failure at the scales would end the existence of this soul. Interesting. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. He uses this example. Michael says, I get quite a few comments by my clients about this picture. A metaphysical oriented person would insist no one is denied entrance into the kingdom of afterlife, regardless of how unfavorable balanced the scales might be towards past conduct. I agree that all souls, matter of fact, the divine, through my meditation, has told me that all souls return and merge back with the divine, because a soul is an expression of the divine. Take what resonates and leave what doesn't. You can believe, and your belief can be your truth, and the divine will say, let that be so, because you came to express. Michael goes on to say, is this belief true? Are all souls given the opportunity to transmute back into the spirit world the same way, irrespective of their association with the body they occupy? To answer this question, Michael says, I should begin by mentioning that a large segment of society believes all souls do not go to the same place. More moderate theology no longer stresses the idea of hellfire and brimstone for sinners. However, Many religious sects indicate a spiritual coexistence of two mental states of good and evil. And then he goes on to say, for the bad, and he puts bad in quotations, souls, there are ancient philosophical pronouncements denoting a separation from the God essence as a means of punishment after death. The Tibetan Book of the Dead, a source of religious belief thousands of years older than the Bible, describes the state of consciousness between lives. In parentheses, he puts the bardo, B-A-R-D-O, as a time when the evil we have perpetrated projects us into spiritual separation. If the people of the East believe in a spiritual or a special spiritual location for evildoers, was this idea similar to the concept of purgatory in the Western world? Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. I don't resonate this way. I believe all souls go back to the divine, merge with the divine, and give the divine the feeling and aspect of that of that soul being part of that human experience. The divine is seeking itself. For me, it's only an expression. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. He goes on to say that the Christians' purgatory is supposed to be a place of atonement, isolation, and suffering. When all negative karma is removed, these souls are eventually allowed into heaven. On the other hand, souls committing major deadly sins are condemned to hell forever. Take what resonates. I'm just reading. It doesn't resonate with me, but I'm just reading it. Okay? I'm not confirming it. However, Michael says, however, I have learned that certain souls do undergo separation in the spirit world, and this happens at the time of their orientation with guides. They are not activated along the same travel route as other souls. Those are my subjects who have been impeded by evil reports that souls whose influence was too weak to turn aside a human impulse to harm others will go into seclusion until re-entering the spirit world. These souls do not appear to mix with other entities in the conventional manner for quite a while. Michael says, I have also noticed that those beginner souls who are habitually associated with intensely negative human conduct in their first series of lives must endure individual spiritual isolation. Ultimately, they are placed together in their own group of intensified learning under close supervision. This is not a punishment, but rather a kind of purgatory for the restructuring of self-awareness of these souls. I like the way they say that. It's not punishment. It's acclimating back into the divine. It's merging. So it's learning to be more of the divine in wholeness. I like the way that's said. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Right? Souls have self-awareness. It's aware that it is part of the wholeness of the creator that is and that is not. But if it spent its existence as that human that believed that it was separated from the divine, it has to reacclimate itself into the consciousness of the divine. I like the way that's said. It's not punishment. It's not going to hell. It's part of the wholeness of the divine, learning to be part of the wholeness of the divine. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Right? It says, he goes on to say, not it. Michael goes on to say, because wrongdoing takes so many forms on earth, spiritual instruction and the type of isolation used is varied for each soul. Right? And for me, the soul is just an expression of the divine, acclimating back with itself. The nature of these variations apparently is evaluated during orientation at the end of each life. Relative time of seclusion and reindoctrination is not consistent either. For instance, Michael says, I have had reports about maladjusted spirits. Maladjusted, you're going to take that term and turn it around and make it something, oh my God, he's going to be judged. No, maladjusted means that it has to reacclimate. It has to recall that it's part of the divine. That is not part of the human experience anymore. That it's okay to what is the word that the divine wants me to use? To surrender and merge. Ooh, I like that. Okay. Maladjusted spirits who have returned back, to earth directly after a period of seclusion in order to expunge themselves as soon as possible by a good incarnated performance. Take what you want. In third density, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My daughter is texting me. Okay. Hold on. Where did the divine want to go? Karma, or taking on another incarnation due to karma, is only a third density thing. A higher being, once it merges back with the divine, can make a choice to return. It can make a choice based on what it learned, and decide if it wants to feel something opposite of the last that it felt. It felt negative polarity, and it can say, I want to feel this now. I want to express this now. I don't want to feel lack. I don't want to feel hate. I don't want to be a bigot, or I don't want to be a racist. I want to feel what it's like to encompass human, not separate them out by color. So that's what I want to do. So that goes that higher polarity, or that higher consciousness, puts it into the light quotient of our DNA, so that when it awakes from being veiled, it can go right to our DNA and says, yes, I want to feel this, and emerge or collaborate with the higher being, or as a higher being in the body, with the body and the mind. It can choose to do that. Now, the body might not, the form body might not concur at that time. depending on how long that higher being has been veiled. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. There's infinite possibilities to understand the infinite divine source that created everything and no thing. Right? So Michael goes on to say, he says, for instance, I have reports about maladjusted spirits who have returned back to Earth directly after a period of seclusion in order to expunge themselves. Expunge some type of judgment. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. The divine does not judge itself. And the higher being or the soul is an expression of itself, seeking itself in form. So it doesn't need to expunge itself, but it might want, it was in lower polarity. Now it might want to seek the higher polarity. Now it might want to seek the polarity of the positive, which is service to others, will be service to itself. Take what resonates, right? Michael says, here is an example as told to me by a soul who was acquainted with these spirits. And this is where we will be talking about case 10. And let me see how long. I know you see my finger, maybe. 71. Okay. Divine says 15 more minutes. Case 10. Michael says, do souls bear responsibility for their involvement with the flawed human beings who endure, I-N-J-U-R-E. I've never heard that word before, but if you know what that word means, endure others in life. And the subject says, yes, those who have wronged others savagely in life. And then they go on to say, I knew of those souls. Dr. N says, what do you know about this entity? What happens after the soul returns to the spirit world following that life? S says, the soul had hurt a girl, but it's body, mind, and soul. It's not just the soul. The form body and the mind and the soul, who knows, it must probably veiled, or maybe unveiled. Maybe it wanted to seek, maybe it was seeking what control felt like. Hurt a girl terribly and did not rejoin our group. There was an extensive private study for him because he did so poorly while he was in the body. Take what resonates. This doesn't resonate with me, but that's okay. The divine says, let it be so. The soul, that higher being that was the expression of the divine seeking the lower expression of control of another, it was an experience. But maybe it stayed in that experience of control that it needed to be reintegrated into the divine. And it might need whatever time the divine needed so that it could merge back. I believe that before it merges back in 7th density, that the 6th density is purification. It's not judgment. It's purification. It's surrendering. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Right? Dr. N says, what was the extent of his punishment? Again, the divine doesn't need to punish itself. It could cleanse and alchemize. Take what resonates. S says, punishment is a wrong interpretation. It's regeneration. You have to recognize that this is a matter for your teacher. Your teachers are more strict with those who have been involved with cruelty. Dr. N says, what does more strict mean in your spiritual world? S says, well, my friend didn't go back with us after this sad life where he hurt this girl. Dr. N said, did he come through the spiritual gateway as yourself when he died? And S said, yes, but he did not meet with anybody. He went directly to a place where he was alone with a teacher. Dr. N says, and then what happened? S says, after a while, not long, he returned to earth again as a woman, where people were cruel, physically abusive. It was a deliberate choice. My friend needed to experience that. That's what you would believe to be karma in third density. Souls can choose to do that. Take what resonates. Dr. N said, do you think this soul blamed the human brain for his former host's body of hurting this girl? S said, no. He took what he had done back into himself. He blamed his own lack of skill to overcome the human failings. For me, take what resonates. If this resonates for you, that's fine. The divine says that the divine doesn't blame. It doesn't judge. Take what resonates. For me, the divine does not judge itself. It seeks expression in human form. It felt one form, and then that expression of the divine went back to seek the opposite of the form that it just came from. If you want to call that atonement, the divine says call it atonement. If you want to call that judgment, the divine says call that judgment. But the formless that the divine is the creator of is not the same as form. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. In S says, this soul asked to become an abused woman in the next life to gain understanding, to appreciate the damage in the past life. To understand. That's what our higher beings have come to do in form, is to show, to be an expression of the creator in form. To step into the ability to shift and evolve as a form being. You can believe whatever you want to believe about the creator, because the creator is having the expression of you. It's not in judgment. You can take the words and say, oh, souls, they go to hell. Because he's certainly expressing his words this way. But souls go back and give a commentary to the divine of itself as it moved in through and as that form body, in collaboration with that form body, and the collaboration with the mind. You take what resonates, you leave what doesn't. For me, the divine is giving me other words that make more sense in the expression of my learning. I'm reading this book just like you are. First time. But what resonates for me might not resonate for you. Listen to your inner being as your inner being explains it to you. All right? So, S says, let's see. No, Dr. N says, this is Dr. Newton, says, if this friend of yours did not gain understanding and continued involving himself with humans who committed wrongful acts, could he be destroyed as a soul by someone in the spirit world? Which most people believe, because that's what they believe hell is. Destroying the soul continuously over and over again. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. If you believe that, the divine says, let it be. Let it be so. It's an infinite possibility of what could be. It's your expression. This higher being called S says, you cannot destroy energy, but it can be reworked. Negativity, which is unimaginable in many lifetimes, can be readjusted. The divine, if you surrender the energy, your negative energy in form, the divine can alchemize it. If the divine can alchemize it in form, it can also alchemize it in formless. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. You can believe anything you want to believe, and it can become your truth. And your truth can reign for you or against you. But it's your creation in form. Okay. So, and Dr. N said, how? How can this be readjusted? And S says, not by destruction, by remodeling. Remodeling. Change. Change in formless and formed. Everything is constantly changing, evolving. So then the last couple of paragraphs, Michael says, in case 10, it did not respond. Case 10 did not respond further to this line of questioning, and other subjects who know something about these damaged, and he keeps calling them damaged souls, but they're just souls that spent so much time separated from the expression of the divine that now it has to reacclimate and anchor back into the divine before it can go out and express as another form being. Ooh, I like that. Are rather sparse with their information. Michael says, later we will learn a bit more about the formation and restoration of intelligent energy. Most errant souls are able to solve their own problems of contamination. Oh, that's a new word. The price we pay for our misdeeds and the rewards received for good conduct revolve around the laws of karma. Perpetrators of harm to others will do penance by setting themselves up as future victims in a karmic cycle or justice. This is one infinite possibility. The divine keeps wanting me to tell you this. Where it falls for you is where it falls for you. What your belief is regarding karma is where your truth falls in your karmic cycle. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. The Bhagavad Gita, another early Eastern scripture, which has stood the test of years, thousands of years, has a passage which says, souls of evil influence must redeem their virtue. Michael says, no study of life after death would have any meaning without addressing how karma relates to casualties and justice of all souls. Karma by itself does not denote good or bad deeds. Rather, it is the result of one's positive and negative actions in life. The statement, there are no accidents in our lives, does not mean karma by itself impels. What it does is propel us forward by teaching lessons. Our future destiny is influenced by our past, from which we cannot escape, especially when we injure others. This is, you take it or leave it. It is one infinite possibility. It's one infinite possibility that he has heard from other souls. But it's not about a heaven or hell. It's about reacclimating souls into the divineness, into the wholeness, and what those souls decide to do when it wants to merge back with human form, what it wants to learn next. You can call it atonement or penance. That's your definition, and the divine will not change the definition for you. The divine will not change the definition for Michael. But you take what resonates for you, and you go to sit at the seat of your soul and ask your higher being a question. You don't have to wait till you die. You can sit at the seat of your soul and have a conscious conversation about what your soul is seeking to learn through your expression of being a human. Okay. Michael goes on to say, the key to growth is understanding we are given the ability to make mid-course corrections in our life, and having the courage to make the necessary changes when what we are choosing is not working for us. Then Michael says, by conquering fear and taking risks, our karmic pattern adjusts to the effects of new choices. At the end of every life, rather than having a monster waiting to devour our souls, we serve as our most severe critic in front of teacher guides. This is why karma is both just and merciful. With the help of our spiritual counselors and peers, we decide on the proper mode of justice for our conduct. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Some people who believe in reincarnation also think if negative souls do not learn their lessons within a reasonable span of life, they will be eliminated and replaced by more willing souls. My subjects deny this premise. Energy can never be destroyed. It can only be recreated, alchemized, changed. Some people who believe in reincarnation, I was about to read the same thing. There is no set path of self-discovery designed for all souls. As one subject told me, souls are assigned to Earth for the duration of the war. This means souls are given the time and opportunity to make changes of growth. Now, the divine hasn't given me the vibrational. The divine is saying it's not war for me to learn that it's war. It's the earthly realm and the spiritual realm are not at war with each other. Most believe that, and that's why the humans believe that. The human side believe that we're on a spiritual war, with that the soul and the ego mind are at war with each other. No, they're trying to get to the place where they anchor with each other and become one. Hi, love. Okay. This means that souls are given the time and the opportunity to make changes for growth. Souls who continue to display negative attitudes through their human hosts must overcome these difficulties by continually making an effort to change. From what I have seen, no negative karma remains attached to a soul who is willing to work through their many lives on this planet, or at least in third density. It is an open question whether a soul should be held entirely at fault for humanity's irrational, unsocialized, and destructive acts. Souls must learn to cope in different ways with each new being, each new human being assigned to them. The permanent identity of a soul stamps the human mind with a distinctive character, which is individual to the soul. However, Michael says, I find there is a strange dual nature between the soul mind and the human brain. Michael says, I will discuss this concept further in later chapters after the readers learn more about the existence of souls in the spirit world. Take what resonates. I know you have. I know you've already decided what vibrates for you in this information shared, as opposed to deep diving into the infinite possibilities of body, mind, and soul. I already know that some of you have put a cap on what is formless and form are the same. That souls that interject the negative polarity must go to hell. There's no way that the divine would accept an expression of itself back into itself. And the divine says, for you, let that be so. We are not here to change your view. We are here to give you another opportunity into an infinite possibility. Take what resonates for you and leave what doesn't. We have finished chapter 4. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being part of this expression of energy in this reading. If there was any energy that was left in here for disruption or confusion, I just call that energy forth and surrender it to the divine. Back to the no thing. We're all energy. That's all it is energy that cannot be created nor destroyed, but it can be alchemized and changed. And I say, Ashe, let it be changed. Let it be so. So I close my reading room and my energy exchange with 10845, 10845, 10845. And I say, take this information, utilize it however you wish. You're the creator. Have an infinite thought. Have a discernment about that thought. And if you discern that it's for your highest and greatest good, and for those that you're serving, let it be so, and go create. Thank you for joining me. This will be in replay for those coming in late, and I hope you enjoy it. Take care. One love. Peace.